Hi and welcome to Little Bits Honeybees. I'm the Skinny Bee Man. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Today's December 25th. I hope your day has been lovely. Hope your year's been good. I appreciate you guys supporting my channel, watching my YouTube videos. It's got bigger than I thought it ever would. I really appreciate that. One of the main reasons I made this video, I just want to remind you guys about the Bee Chat. December 29th, that's this Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can go to the community tab on my front page on the YouTube page, and the link to get in the chat is there. I think it's going to be a lot of people in there. Got about 7 co-hosts to be Barnyard Bees, and Jason Braggs from New River Honeybees, Langford Parton from Chattanooga, Todd Prince from North Carolina, NC Queens, North Carolina. Keith Booth from Chattanooga. Mike Privet from Western Tennessee. And I think there'll be a lot of people there. I think there'll be a lot of info learned. I hope to learn something. I'm sure you always can, no matter who you listen to, how old you are, you don't know it all. But didn't make this video, since I had to make a video, I thought, well, what can I make something on that you don't hear much of? In this video, we're going to talk about some of the myths, not all of them. I couldn't think of them. I just went in and made a short list of things I've heard all my life that are just not true. It's just not true. So I got a list here. We'll kind of run down through them and like that. Most of the books and everything tell you can't get any honey off of a hive the first year. That's totally false. You know, if a hive generally has got their deep boxes underneath there for brood boxes and one super honey on it, you can take all the rest of it and they've got plenty of honey. I've took honey off a lot of them. Another thing, you can't make a split out of a box the first year. Well, we've proved that wrong this past season. If you've watched anything on the intermediate series, made a lot of splits. Not as many as we normally do, but made a lot of splits out of a package. No, it wasn't even a nuke or a full-size hive. So you can make splits. You got to feed them. You got to take care of them different, but it can be done. There's no problem in it. Here's a biggie, and I've learned the hard way. A lot of people think that the only reason a bee needs pollen is to raise brood. That's absolutely 100% false. The pollen is their protein. It's just like you eating meats and other stuff. If you can live off sugar, sweets for a while, but you got to have some protein in your body. They all need it. Drones can't even eat pollen and digest it themselves because they don't have the enzyme in their body. So the nurse bees has got to, chew it up, add an enzyme to it, and feed it to the drones. But they definitely need pollen to live. You can have, if you put a massive hive, good health, going into winter, and you stacked it full of honey and took all their pollen, they'll never make the winter. They'll die. It's just a simple fact. They got to have pollen. A lot of people think feeding bees makes them lazy. Feeding bees don't make bees lazy. I've seen it time after time. When there's a good honey flow on, you can put honey right on the front of the landing boards, and they'll fly right over it and go get their nectar and come back just all day long. And that honey will be on that landing board for a week or better sometimes. Now when the dirt's on, you can't even get the bottle down there, and they're all over it. So, but it doesn't have anything to do with making them lazy. They prefer the natural food when they can get it. But sometimes you got to feed your bees. I mean, you get into a big drought, and literally bees can starve to death right in the middle of summertime if if there's a big drought on and lasts for months, and they use all their stores up. I know some people this last fall said I was in my bees in August and had 2 or 3 supers of honey on there. Went back in late September and the honey was all gone. They'd already ate it before winter. So there's time to feed your bees. You kind of got to watch your bees and know when they need feed. A lot of books, a lot of people will tell you that a queen only flies out one time to get mated. That's absolutely 100% false also. I don't know what the reasoning behind it is. Sometimes when they fly out, they don't get mated good the first time. They'll fly out the next day, or maybe the next 3 days. One time in this yard, I seen a queen come back from a mating flight, and that afternoon I caught her and marked her. The next day I was going down through there and I thought, well, I'll just check on her, see what she's doing. And she wasn't in the box. And this was before I got really a lot of hives. I had time to sit down, and I just sat down in front of the hive for a minute. It wasn't about 5-10 minutes. She flew in, landed on the front of the box and went back in. So that was 2 times. And about the next day, the 3rd day, I was walking down through there and she was out on the front of the box again. So I know that she flew out 3 times to get mated. Now what the reasoning behind it was, I have no clue, but they do sometimes fly out. And sometimes they'll fly out and be gone for a day or 2. Sometimes they don't fly straight back. I've seen mating boxes where there wasn't no queen in it. And check it, I mean, just 1 or 2 small frames in there. There's no way to miss a queen. And come back 2 or 3 days later to put a queen cell in it, open it up, and there'll be a queen in there. So a lot of things are just totally not the case. A lot of people think that you can tell the race or strain of a bee by color. In the United States, the bees are so inbred and just crossed this way and the other. There's absolutely no way to tell them whether it's Italian or Carnolian, a Buckfast or whatever. I got several Cordovan queens in my yard. Different breeds, but they're Cordovan, and Cordovan is just a color trait. It's real easy to breed in, so I can turn any line I've got into a real light brown colored bee. The color has nothing to do with the race. I know you guys have heard this one, that mites like the drone cells because of the size of the cell. The size of the cell has nothing to do with why the mites like the drone cells. The mites go into the drone cells because they've got a 3-day longer gestation period than the worker cells. So it gives them 3 days more. They can lay however many eggs they can lay in 3 days. They can raise that much more brood in a drone cell versus a worker cell. Worker cell's 21 days. I think a drone's 24 days. I've heard this go around too, that you get a laying worker in a box, the queen got gone, and laying workers taking over the hive, and all she lays is drones, and they're pretty scrubby drone cells, but they say that they're not viable. They are. Drones from a laying worker are viable. They will fly out, they will mate. That's their only reason for turning into a drone or a laying worker. They know they're doomed, they have no way to make a queen. The only thing they can do is preserve the genetics from their queen. And a drone is a clone of the queen because the only DNA he's got, chromosomes he gets, is from his mom. He has no father. So it's absolutely a clone of the queen, and that spreads her genetics, keeps it going. A lot of people think there's only one queen in the hive. Well, most of the time that's the case. About between 20 and 30% of the time, there's more than one queen in a hive. If you run very many hives, you'll see it at some point. A lot of people think getting their queen marked and the wings clipped will keep them from swarming and flying. Totally false. You can clip the wing on a queen. Had 2 this year myself, clipped breeder queens, and they took off and flew. I ended up catching them, but they will fly. So clipped wings doesn't stop a bee from swarming. You think, well, I don't have to worry about swarming because I got them wings clipped. Not so. Not so. And this is really here is not a myth. It's just something that I wanted to kind of run across to you guys, especially the newer people. Had some fairly warm days here lately, you know, in the 40s and 50s, and bees flew good some days and fair some days. But if it's been cold and the bees are just flying fair, and you go out there and pop the lid on it, you've got a bunch of bees in the cluster, no movement. I went in there and raked them around, and man, I've lost this hive, and shut them back up, and put my brick up so I mark it as a dead out, and come by 2 or 3 days later when it's a warmer day, and they'll be fine. When they get in that dormant state, you can roll them around and move them and touch them. They won't move, and you think they're dead, but they're really not. That's kind of all I got. It was just a few myths that it's just not true. I can think of another one here. The books say that that a queen average lays 1,500 to 2,000 eggs a day, and if you've had big hives, you go in there and have 7, 8 frames of brood. And if you do the math, there's like, on small cell, which is what I run, there's like 7,600 cells. So say there's 7,000 cells to a frame. You know, it'd take her, she laid 2,000 a day, it'd take her 4 days to lay it up. Well, you divide 4 into the 21 days, and you don't come up 7, 8, 9, 10 frames of brood. It just doesn't work that way. A good queen will lay however much resources she's got. If she's got gobs and nurse bees and the food's coming in, she lays 24/7. And I have no idea how many she can lay, but I know it's more than 1,500 to 2,000. So they'll lay a box up quick when things is really right. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. Like I say, I appreciate you guys supporting the channel, watching my videos, and don't forget about the chat the 29th. I think it'll be a pretty big deal. Get to meet some other people, get some ideas from other people, because you hear a lot of what I've got to say, and a lot of times there's more than one way, or several ways to do things. My way's not the only way. It's just the way that I've come across, the way I like, and it works. And I've tried other things that pretty reputable people has told me, and it doesn't work for me. For whatever reason, it just doesn't work. And they've tried things that I've said that doesn't work, but it works for me. So, you know, there's nothing cut and dried in the bee business. So, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If you don't get to see the chat, I will post it to YouTube. It may be a 2-parter. It may be a long thing, just depending on how many questions. And I'm thinking I've got a room set up for 500 people, and I think we'll fill it up. So it'll be a big deal. We'll catch you later.